When most of us hear the word drone, we think about military drones, the kind that fire missiles at CIA targets in Pakistan, Yemen, Afghanistan. These robots in the sky could soon be flying their way into domestic airspace, piloted not only by hobbyists, but also by law enforcement officers. In the U.S., some 30 states are working on legislation to regulate drone usage to the privacy of civilians. So far, only one state has passed it. CCTV's Jessica Stone has that story.
Welcome to Lebanon, the county seat of Russell County, Virginia, where you'll find 29,000 people. Scenic farmland as far as the eye can see.
So I'm going to hit takeoff, okay?
That's pretty user-friendly.
All right, now it takes off, and I'm going to let it come up on its own.
And drones. The Russell County Sheriff's Department has 2 of them. This model is commercially available, and its battery life lasts up to 45 minutes. Deputy Sheriff Bill Watson operates the drones using an app on his cell phone, and it can record everything it sees. Sheriff Stephen Dye sees them as a new tool for search and rescue, finding missing persons, and for protecting his officers in high-risk situations.
You want to give them every benefit of the doubt, every opportunity to succeed. You want to see them go home at the end of the shift. For years, law enforcement offices have used robotic devices with cameras on them to, I guess, assess high-threat situations.
That's light. But privacy advocates say this type of robotic device is different. It's cheaper. These cost just $300 apiece. And it can be equipped with high-powered cameras, infrared cameras that can track people in the dark, and with listening devices, all of which can be used to invade personal privacy.
Their capabilities are quite different, and their ability to invade our privacy is quite different. And things that are different should be treated differently.
This week, Virginia lawmakers passed a 2-year ban on drone use while also making special exemptions for law enforcement, military activities, and research institutions.
So in your view, an emergency should be dictated by the sheriff in the situation?
It'd be designated by the sheriff in the event there's property or life on the line.
Drones have been so little tested in any application outside of the war zone that people don't really know how often are they going to fall out of the sky, how many pilot errors are going to cause people to be injured. You know, we've got lots of issues to resolve.
I tell it to land. I hit the button. It did itself.
Back in Russell County, the drones have been grounded, used for training only. And Sheriff Dye believes that the wait may bring understanding and acceptance of drones.
They understood the device that we had and the situations in which we intended to use it. I feel the general population in Russell County would be very supportive.
Right now, 30 other U.S. states are also working on legislation to limit the use of domestic drones. Meantime, the federal government says only hobbyists can use them up to 400 feet in the air. Jessica Stone, CCTV, Washington.
So many new and challenging questions are raised by the rise of these drones, and we're going to try to get some answers and insight now from a couple of legal experts. Morris Davis is a law professor at Howard University here in Washington. He joins us on our set here. Daniel Rothenberg is joining us live from Phoenix, Arizona. He's a law professor there at Arizona State University. Welcome to both of you. I guess one would say the genie's out of the bottle or the drone's out of the hangar. Where do we go from here? Why don't I start with you, Morris?
Well, there's no putting it back. I mean, you're right. It's out of the bottle. We're going to have to learn to live with it. It's interesting because states now are scrambling, trying to pass legislation like Virginia did to limit drone use. I think there are more than 30 states now have legislation in the pipeline. There are also 37 states that have submitted bids wanting to be one of the FAA centers to test drones. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation right now.
Dan, let me get your thoughts on this.
Well, it's clear that drones are going to be a part of our lives and a part of this evolving world. I think one of the problems is trying to think of this as an issue that you're either for drones or against drones. This is a technology and a tool. It isn't a sort of a moral position.
Well, that's interesting. So let me get to that thought, because Ryan Kalo of Stanford Center for Internet and Society suggested that the disquieting nature of drones could be just the visceral jolt society needs to spark a broader changes as far as how Americans conceptualize privacy problems. And that really is kind of the heart of it, isn't it? A lot of people are concerned that there could be this invasion of privacy, this kind of Orwellian overreach by government.
Right. Well, as the trade association said, the term drone has a negative connotation associated with it, primarily from its use in wartime. But certainly there are good applications, like doing search and rescue and weather and those type things. But, putting weapons, I mean, it's a platform. The drone itself is just a platform. It's what you choose to hang on it and how you use it. And certainly the privacy concern is a legitimate concern. And the Supreme Court has had some real concern about it. There was a decision 2 weeks ago about taking a drug dog, onto the front porch of someone's house. And it was an odd combination. You had Justice Scalia and Thomas siding with Sotomayor, Ginsburg, and Kagan to strike down that, saying that that was an invasion of privacy.
That is a rarity. Dan, let me get your thoughts about that, though. There are these concerns about invasion of privacy, kind of this Orwellian kind of concept of drones. This overreach. What are your thoughts?
That's completely correct. I think that in many ways, drones have become an icon of a whole series of different emerging technologies. So in the military sphere, we see drones as sort of an element of a new kind of warfare, which is partly true. And here in the domestic space, I think exactly as the person you mentioned pointed out, drones are a way in which we are processing a degree of surveillance that is transforming our society. Of course, it's worrying.
What about this concept? I think the ACLU is the one that's come out and said, look, if a police officer wants to go into somebody's house, they need a search warrant. There ought to be these kinds of steps with drones, because a drone obviously can just be outside your window looking around inside your house. What kind of safeguards could be put in place?
Well, and that's a very valid point, because with thermal imaging technology, looking for heat lamps, to use to grow marijuana, or chemical detectors, or other type of detectors that could be mounted on the drone, it really does invade your privacy. And it's led to this odd series of bedfellows, because you had in Virginia the ACLU and the Tea Party coming together to push this legislation to have this 2-year moratorium on drones. But again, there's no turning back. The FAA is currently on track to come up with regulations by 2015, and they estimate over the next 10 years is an $82 billion industry. University of North Dakota can now get a degree now in drone technology. So this is the future coming.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have more time to talk about this, but I want to thank you for joining us here in the studio. Morris and Dan, thank you so much for joining us from Arizona this evening.
Thank you so much.